The autumn evening air carried a crisp bite as London's most prestigious venue, the Royal Albert Hall, prepared for one of the year's most anticipated events. Inside the historic red brick building, hundreds of staff members moved with practiced efficiency, adjusting lighting rigs, testing sound equipment, and placing final touches on what would become a night to remember. The Royal Variety performance had been a cherished tradition since 1912, but tonight promised something extraordinary. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, stood before her bedroom mirror in Kensington Palace, carefully considering her evening attire. The elegant navy blue gown she had chosen sparkled subtly under the soft lighting, its classic cut both regal and contemporary. Her dresser, Maria, worked quietly beside her, ensuring every detail was perfect. Tonight wasn't just another royal engagement. It was an opportunity to support the entertainment industry that had brought joy to millions during challenging times. "The car will be ready in 20 minutes, Your Royal Highness," Maria informed her, stepping back to admire her work. Catherine smiled, adjusting her sapphire earrings one final time. "Thank you, Maria. Have you heard anything about the performance lineup tonight?" "I believe Jessie J is performing, ma'am. And there's quite a diverse group of entertainers from around the world." The mention of Jessie J brought a genuine smile to Catherine's face. She had always appreciated the singer's powerful voice and authentic personality. Tonight would mark their first meeting, and Catherine looked forward to the encounter. Meanwhile, across London in a luxury hotel suite, Jessie J was experiencing her own pre-show preparations. The British singer-songwriter sat in a plush chair while her makeup artist, Sarah, carefully applied the finishing touches to her dramatic eye makeup. Jessie's outfit for the evening hung nearby, a stunning black jumpsuit with intricate beadwork that caught the light beautifully. "I still can't believe I'm performing for the royals tonight," Jessie confessed to her manager, David, who was reviewing the evening's schedule on his tablet. "You've performed for millions of people, Jessie. This is just another stage," David replied, though his own nervous energy was evident. "It's different, though. This is history. The Royal Variety performance has hosted everyone from the Beatles to Adele. And tonight, I'll meet the Prince and Princess of Wales personally." Jessie had grown up watching clips of past Royal Variety shows with her family. The tradition meant something special in British culture, representing the best of entertainment while supporting charitable causes. For her, tonight represented the pinnacle of achievement in her home country. At the Royal Albert Hall, the backstage area buzzed with controlled chaos. Comedians rehearsed their routines one final time, dancers stretched and warmed up, and musicians tuned their instruments. The technical crew conducted final sound checks, ensuring every microphone and speaker would deliver crystal-clear audio to the distinguished audience. Among the performers preparing for the evening was Marcus Chun, a young magician whose innovative illusions had taken social media by storm. At 24, he was the youngest performer on tonight's bill, and the nerve showed in his rapid hand movements as he practiced his card tricks for the 100th time that day. "Remember, Marcus, it's just like any other show," his assistant, Emma, reminded him as she organized his props. "You've performed this routine perfectly dozens of times." "But not in front of royalty," Marcus replied, his voice slightly shaky. "My grandmother is going to watch this on television. She always said I should amount to something special." Emma smiled encouragingly. "Well, tonight you're proving her right." In another corner of the backstage area, the internationally acclaimed opera singer Isabella Romano was running through vocal exercises with her accompanist. The Italian soprano had performed in the world's greatest opera houses, from La Scala to the Metropolitan Opera, but the intimate nature of tonight's performance presented unique challenges. "The acoustics here are magnificent," she told her accompanist, Francesco. "But I must be careful not to overwhelm the space. Royal audiences appreciate subtlety as much as power." Isabella had chosen to perform Nessun Dorma, a piece that never failed to move audiences to tears. Tonight, she hoped to share the beauty of opera with viewers who might never otherwise experience it. Back at Kensington Palace, Prince William was adjusting his black tie having arrived home from a day of official engagements just in time to prepare for the evening. As the future king, he understood the importance of supporting British arts and entertainment, but he also genuinely enjoyed these events. "Catherine, are you ready?" he called out as he checked his watch. "Almost," came her reply from the adjoining room. "I was just thinking about how many talented people we'll meet tonight." William smiled. His wife's genuine interest in the people they met during royal engagements was one of the qualities he admired most about her. She had a gift for making everyone feel valued and heard, whether they were world-famous celebrities or backstage crew members. The royal motorcade departed Kensington Palace at precisely 7:15, allowing time for the careful choreography required for their arrival. As they traveled through London's evening traffic, Catherine and William reviewed their briefing notes about the performers and the evening schedule. "I see that Jessie J is performing Price Tag tonight," Catherine noted, reading from her folder. "I remember that song being everywhere when it first came out. Wasn't that around the time we got married?" William asked, trying to recall the timeline. "Just before, I think. It feels like yesterday and a lifetime ago all at once." Their conversation was interrupted by the sight of crowds gathering outside the Royal Albert Hall. Even from several blocks away, they could see the red carpet area illuminated by television lights and surrounded by photographers. The excitement was palpable, even from inside their secure vehicle. At the venue, celebrities and performers had begun arriving for the pre-show reception. The red carpet buzzed with activity as photographers captured images of Britain's entertainment elite alongside international stars who had traveled to London specifically for this event. Jessie J's arrival drew significant attention from both photographers and fans. Stepping out of her car with characteristic confidence, she paused to wave at the crowd before making her way down the red carpet. Her black jumpsuit caught the camera flashes beautifully, and her warm smile charmed everyone present. "Jessie, over here," photographers called out, and she obliged with gracious professionalism, posing for pictures while chatting briefly with entertainment reporters. "How are you feeling about performing tonight?" asked one journalist. "Incredibly honored," Jessie replied. "The Royal Variety performance represents the best of British entertainment, and I'm thrilled to be part of that tradition." Inside the venue, the VIP reception area was elegantly decorated with flowers and soft lighting. Performers mingled with dignitaries, creating an atmosphere of excited anticipation. Marcus, the young magician, stood somewhat apart from the main groups, still practicing subtle hand movements with his cards. Isabella Romano, resplendent in a flowing emerald gown, was engaged in animated conversation with the evening's host, comedian, and actor James Morrison. Her commanding presence and warm laugh drew attention from across the room. "The challenge with opera," she was explaining to James, "is making it accessible without losing its power. Tonight, I hope to show people why this art form has moved audiences for centuries." James nodded appreciatively. "I think you'll find this audience very receptive. There's something magical about live performance that television can never quite capture." As 8 o'clock approached, excitement in the reception area reached its peak. Staff members began discreetly guiding performers toward their final preparation areas, while VIP guests were shown to their seats in the auditorium. The Royal Albert Hall's main auditorium was a sight to behold. The Victorian architecture created an intimate yet grand atmosphere, with the royal box prominently positioned to provide perfect views of the stage. Every seat was filled with carefully selected guests, from entertainment industry leaders to charity representatives and cultural figures. Backstage, Jessie J was having her final touch-ups applied when word came that the royal party had arrived. Through the monitors, performers could see the excitement building in the auditorium as audience members stood and applauded the entrance of the Prince and Princess of Wales. Catherine looked radiant as she took her seat in the royal box, acknowledging the warm reception from the audience with a gracious smile and wave. William, equally polished in his formal attire, surveyed the auditorium with obvious pleasure. This was their favorite type of royal engagement, celebrating talent and supporting worthy causes. The evening's host, James Morrison, appeared on stage to thunderous applause. His opening monologue perfectly balanced respect for the royal presence with the humor expected from such events. "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, your royal highnesses," he began with a theatrical bow toward the royal box. "Welcome to the Royal Variety Performance 2024, where we celebrate the very best in entertainment while supporting the brilliant work of the Royal Variety Charity." The audience responded with enthusiastic applause, and James continued with practice timing. "Tonight, we have an incredible lineup of performers who have traveled from around the world to be here. From chart-topping singers to death-defying acrobats, from side-splitting comedians to breathtaking dancers. This evening promises to be truly unforgettable." As James spoke, Catherine and William exchanged glances of anticipation. They had both reviewed the program and were particularly excited about several performances, including Jessie J's highly anticipated number. But first, James announced, "Please welcome to the stage the extraordinary dance troupe Phoenix Rising, who will open our evening with a performance that celebrates the resilience and creativity of the human spirit." The lights dimmed, and the show officially began. Phoenix Rising took the stage with explosive energy, their contemporary routine telling a powerful story of overcoming adversity through movement and music. The dancers' athletic ability and emotional expression immediately captivated the audience, setting the perfect tone for the evening ahead. Catherine watched with obvious admiration, occasionally leaning over to share quiet observations with William. Her genuine engagement with the performance was clearly visible to cameras, and her appreciation for the arts shone through every gesture. As the opening number concluded to standing ovation, the evening's magical journey was officially underway. Each performer waiting in the wings knew they were part of something special, a tradition that connected them to decades of entertainment history while creating new memories for millions of viewers around the world. The Royal Albert Hall hummed with electric energy as anticipation built for each successive act. Tonight would bring together royalty and entertainers in a celebration of creativity, talent, and the enduring power of live performance to unite and inspire audiences everywhere. The thunderous applause for Phoenix Rising gradually subsided as the dance troupe took their final bows and exited the stage. In the royal box, Catherine and William exchanged impressed glances, both clearly moved by the powerful opening performance. The Princess of Wales had always been a patron of the arts, and seeing such raw talent and emotional storytelling through dance never failed to inspire her. Backstage, the energy was electric as performers prepared for their moments in the spotlight. Jessie J stood in the wings, watching the stage crew efficiently reset for the next act. Her heart was racing with a mixture of excitement and nerves that she hadn't felt in years. Despite her international success and countless performances, there was something uniquely special about this venue and this audience. "5 minutes until your call, Jessie," whispered the stage manager, Sarah Fletcher, who had been coordinating Royal Variety performances for over a decade. Sarah had seen countless stars grace this stage, but she always maintained the same level of professional calm that kept everything running smoothly. "Thank you," Jessie replied, taking a deep breath and rolling her shoulders to release tension. She could hear James Morrison introducing the next act, a comedy duo from Scotland whose accents and rapid-fire humor were already drawing laughter from the audience. The Scottish comedians, brothers Duncan and Alastair MacLeod, had driven down from Edinburgh specifically for this performance. Their routine, a clever blend of observational humor about British life and self-deprecating jokes about Scottish stereotypes, had the audience in stitches within moments of taking the stage. "You know you're in London when your hotel room costs more per night than my car is worth," Duncan quipped, earning immediate laughter. "And speaking of expensive, we had to sell a sheep just to afford the petrol to drive down here." Alastair jumped in seamlessly. But it was worth it to perform for their royal highnesses. Although I have to say, Your Royal Highnesses, if you're ever in Scotland, the accommodation is much more affordable. You can stay in our spare room for just £20 a night. Breakfast included. The royal couple was clearly enjoying the humor, with William's laughter particularly visible to the television cameras. Catherine covered her mouth politely as she chuckled, maintaining the perfect balance of enjoyment and royal dignity. The MacLeod brothers concluded their 10-minute set to enthusiastic applause before making way for what many considered the evening's most technically challenging act. The Zhao family acrobats from China represented 4 generations of circus performers, and their routine defied both gravity and imagination. Liwei Zhao, the family patriarch at 72 years old, served as the narrator for their performance, speaking in accented but clear English as his children and grandchildren prepared their elaborate setup of poles, ribbons, and balancing apparatus. "Ladies and gentlemen, your Royal Highnesses," Liwei announced with a deep bow toward the royal box. "My family has performed acrobatic arts for over 100 years. Tonight, we honor the traditions of our ancestors while creating new dreams for our children." What followed was 15 minutes of breathtaking athleticism and artistry. The youngest family member, 8-year-old Mei Zhao, demonstrated flexibility that seemed to defy human anatomy, while her teenage cousins performed aerial silk routines that left the audience gasping. The highlight came when 3 generations of the family created a human pyramid that reached nearly to the venue's ornate ceiling. Catherine watched with wide eyes, occasionally placing her hand over her heart during particularly death-defying moments. The precision and trust required for such performances reminded her of the dedication she had witnessed in Olympic athletes during the London 2012 Games. As the Zhao family took their bows to a standing ovation, Isabella Romano was making her final preparations backstage. The opera singer had chosen Nessun Dorma, specifically because of its universal emotional appeal, even for audiences unfamiliar with opera. She knew that this aria, made famous by Luciano Pavarotti, had the power to transcend linguistic and cultural barriers. "Isabella, you're next after the interval," Sarah informed her. "The sound crew is just making final adjustments for your microphone levels." "Grazie," Isabella replied, running through her warm-up exercises one final time. She had performed this piece hundreds of times, but tonight felt different. Tonight, she was representing her art form to millions of viewers who might never otherwise experience opera. James Morrison returned to the stage to announce the interval, providing audience members with a chance to stretch their legs and performers with valuable time for costume changes and final preparations. In the royal box, Catherine and William were approached by several dignitaries and charity representatives who had been invited to meet them during the break. "Your Royal Highnesses, the performers this evening have been absolutely extraordinary," commented Lady Margaret Thornton, chair of the Royal Variety Charity. "We're so grateful for your continued support of our work with entertainment industry professionals who need assistance." "The talent on display tonight is remarkable," Catherine replied warmly. "It's wonderful to see such diversity in the performances and to know that our attendance helps support such important charitable work." William nodded in agreement. "We're particularly looking forward to Jessie J's performance. Her music has brought joy to so many people, and it will be interesting to see how she adapts her style for this venue." During the interval, television viewers were treated to behind-the-scenes footage and interviews with performers. Jessie J spoke candidly about her preparation for the evening. "Performing at the Royal Variety is every British artist's dream," she told the interviewer. "It's not just about the royal presence, though that's incredibly special. It's about being part of a tradition that celebrates the best of what we do as entertainers. I've chosen to perform Price Tag tonight because it's a song about authenticity and staying true to yourself, which I think resonates with everyone." The cameras also captured Marcus Chun, the young magician, practicing his routine one final time in a quiet corner backstage. His nervous energy was palpable, but his dedication was evident in every precise movement of his hands. "Magic is about creating wonder," Marcus explained to the camera crew. Tonight, I want to create a sense of impossibility that makes people forget their everyday worries, even if it's just for a few minutes. If I can do that for their Royal Highnesses and everyone watching, then I'll have succeeded. As the interval concluded and audience members returned to their seats, the atmosphere in the Royal Albert Hall seemed to intensify. The evening's first half had established a high standard, and anticipation was building for what was to come. Isabella Romano took the stage to hushed reverence. The opera singer's presence was commanding even before she began to sing, her emerald gown catching the stage lights beautifully as she positioned herself center stage. The orchestra, under the direction of renowned conductor Michael Harrison, began the opening notes of Nessun Dorma. When Isabella's voice soared through the historic venue, the effect was transformational. Her interpretation of the beloved aria was both technically flawless and emotionally devastating. The power and beauty of her voice seemed to reach into every corner of the auditorium, creating an intimate connection with each individual listener despite the grandeur of the setting. In the royal box, Catherine was visibly moved by the performance. She had always appreciated classical music, but experiencing such vocal artistry live was profoundly affecting. William, too, was completely absorbed in the performance, his usual composed demeanor replaced by obvious awe. As Isabella reached the aria's climactic high notes, the entire auditorium seemed to hold its breath. When she concluded with the triumphant Vincero, the silence that followed lasted several heartbeats before erupting into the evening's most enthusiastic applause yet. "Brava! Brava!" could be heard throughout the audience as Isabella took her bows. The standing ovation lasted nearly 5 minutes, with the royal couple rising immediately to show their appreciation. It was a performance that reminded everyone present why opera had endured for centuries as one of humanity's greatest art forms. Backstage, Jessie J had watched Isabella's performance on the monitors with deep admiration. Following such a powerful operatic moment would be challenging, but she felt ready. Her own performance would offer a completely different energy, bringing contemporary pop music's accessibility and infectious enthusiasm to the evening's mix. "That was incredible," she murmured to her vocal coach, Tom, who had accompanied her for moral support. "How do you follow something like that?" "You don't try to follow it," Tom replied wisely. "You offer something completely different." Isabella gave them classical beauty. You're going to give them pure joy and energy. James Morrison returned to the stage, still clearly affected by Isabella's performance. "Ladies and gentlemen, what an extraordinary way to begin our second half. Isabella Romano has reminded us all why the human voice remains music's most powerful instrument." The audience applauded once more for Isabella, who was still receiving congratulations from fellow performers backstage. "And now," James continued, his energy building, "please welcome one of Britain's most beloved contemporary artists. She's a singer, songwriter, and performer whose voice and personality have captured hearts around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, your Royal Highnesses, please welcome the magnificent Jessie J." The audience erupted as Jessie J strode confidently onto the stage, her black jumpsuit sparkling under the lights. Her smile was radiant as she waved to the crowd and offered a respectful curtsy toward the royal box. Catherine and William smiled warmly in response, clearly excited for her performance. Jessie J positioned herself at center stage, the opening notes of Price Tag beginning to play. As she opened her mouth to sing, her powerful voice filled the Royal Albert Hall with the same authority that Isabella had demonstrated, but with completely different energy. Where the opera had been transcendent and emotional, Jessie's performance was joyful, empowering, and irresistibly engaging. The song choice was perfect for the venue and audience. Price Tag, with its message about authenticity and not being defined by material wealth, resonated beautifully in this setting where talent and artistry were being celebrated above all else. Jessie's vocal runs and improvisations showcased her technical ability, while her stage presence kept every audience member completely engaged. Catherine found herself subtly moving to the rhythm, while William was clearly impressed by both the vocal performance and the positive energy Jessie brought to the stage. Around them, the audience was similarly captivated, many quietly singing along to the familiar chorus. As Jessie J concluded her performance with a powerful vocal flourish, the audience leaped to their feet once again. The contemporary pop performance had provided the perfect counterpoint to Isabella's classical excellence, demonstrating the incredible range of talent that British entertainment had to offer. The evening was reaching its crescendo, but several more acts awaited their moment in the spotlight. Each performer had brought something unique to this celebration of entertainment, and the best was yet to come. The energy in the Royal Albert Hall reached new heights as Jessie J basked in the thunderous applause. Her performance of Price Tag had not only showcased her incredible vocal range, but also perfectly captured the spirit of the evening, celebrating authentic talent over commercial concerns. In the royal box, Catherine and William were both visibly energized by the performance, their smiles reflecting the joy that Jessie had brought to the entire venue. As Jessie took her final bow and blew a kiss toward the royal box, she noticed Catherine mouthing "beautiful" in her direction. The gesture, though small, meant everything to the performer. This was the moment she had dreamed of since childhood, not just performing for royalty, but creating a genuine connection through music. Backstage, the atmosphere was electric with excitement and nerves as the evening's remaining performers prepared for their moments in the spotlight. Marcus Chun, the young magician, was doing final checks of his equipment with his assistant Emma. His card tricks and illusions had been perfectly choreographed, but the live environment of the Royal Variety performance added an element of unpredictability that both thrilled and terrified him. "Remember, Marcus, if anything goes wrong, just keep talking," Emma whispered as they heard James Morrison introducing the next act. "Your personality is just as important as your tricks." I know, Marcus replied, shuffling through his specially marked cards one more time. "I just want to make my family proud. My grandfather always said magic was about giving people hope that impossible things could happen." On stage, the evening continued with a performance by the London Youth Orchestra, conducted by their 18-year-old conductor prodigy, Alexandra Chun, no relation to Marcus, though they had bonded over their shared Chinese heritage during rehearsals. Alexandra's youth made her presence on the Royal Variety stage particularly remarkable, representing a new generation of classical musicians who were breathing fresh life into traditional orchestration. The orchestra's performance of a medley from British musical theatre was both technically brilliant and emotionally stirring. They seamlessly wove together themes from The Lion King, Phantom of the Opera, and Les Miserables, creating a musical journey that celebrated the West End's global influence. Alexandra's conducting style was energetic and passionate, inspiring her fellow young musicians to deliver performances that rivaled those of seasoned professionals. William was particularly impressed by the youth orchestra, having long supported programs that provided classical music education to young people from all backgrounds. He leaned toward Catherine during the performance, quietly commenting on the remarkable skill level of the musicians, many of whom appear to be in their teens. Catherine nodded in agreement, remembering her own experiences with youth music programs during her various charitable patronages. Seeing young people excel in the arts always reminded her of the importance of supporting cultural education and ensuring that talent could flourish regardless of economic circumstances. As the orchestra concluded their medley to enthusiastic applause, James Morrison returned to the stage with obvious admiration for what the audience had just witnessed. "Incredible. Ladies and gentlemen, the future of British music is clearly in excellent hands," James announced, gesturing toward Alexandra and her orchestra as they took their bows. "Alexandra Chun and the London Youth Orchestra, everyone." The young conductor's smile was radiant as she acknowledged the standing ovation. For many of the orchestra members, this performance would become the highlight of their musical education, a moment they would remember for the rest of their lives. Behind the scenes, Word had begun spreading among the performers about the warm reception the royal couple was giving to each act. Veterans of previous royal variety shows knew that royal engagement could vary significantly from year to year, but Catherine and William's genuine enthusiasm was evident to everyone, from the technical crew to the headline performers. "They're really engaged tonight," observed veteran performer and West End star Rebecca Matthews, who will be performing later in the evening. "You can tell when royals are just going through the motions, but these two are genuinely enjoying themselves." Rebecca had performed in 3 previous royal variety shows and was known for her powerful performances in London's theatre district. Tonight, she would be singing Defying Gravity from Wicked, a choice that would showcase both her vocal range and the continuing popularity of modern musical theater. The next act to take the stage was the comedy magic duo Mystique and Mayhem, consisting of husband and wife team David and Samantha Patterson. Their act cleverly combined David's traditional magic skills with Samantha's sharp comedic timing, creating an entertainment experience that appealed to audiences of all ages. "Your Royal Highnesses, ladies and gentlemen," David announced as he and Samantha took center stage. "We're about to prove that marriage is the greatest magic trick of all, making 2 people disappear into one shared bank account." The audience laughed appreciatively as Samantha rolled her eyes dramatically. "He practices that line in the mirror every morning," she quipped, earning even louder laughter. Their routine was masterfully crafted, with each magic trick building upon the previous one, while Samantha's commentary kept the audience engaged between illusions. The highlight of their performance came when they invited audience members to participate in a trick involving a borrowed wedding ring that mysteriously appeared inside a sealed envelope that had been in the royal box since the beginning of the evening. When James Morrison was called upon to open the envelope and reveal the borrowed ring inside, the audience gasped in amazement. Even William appeared genuinely baffled by the illusion, examining the envelope with obvious curiosity about how the trick had been accomplished. Catherine was delighted by the interactive nature of the performance, particularly appreciating how the magic duo had managed to include the royal box without making them feel uncomfortable or putting them in an awkward position. The trick's execution was flawless, leaving everyone wondering how the impossible had been achieved. As Mystique and Mayhem took their bows to enthusiastic applause, Marcus Chun felt his nerves intensify. He would be performing immediately after the next act, and watching the professional execution of David and Samantha's routine both inspired and intimidated him. The stage was then occupied by the evening's most physically demanding act, the aerial performance troupe Cirque Nouveau. This French-Canadian group had revolutionized traditional circus arts by incorporating contemporary dance and theatrical storytelling into their breathtaking aerial routines. Their performance told the story of human dreams and aspirations through a series of silk, trapeze, and aerial hoop routines performed 20 feet above the stage without safety nets. The troupe's lead performer, Marie-Claire Dubois, had trained with Cirque du Soleil for over a decade before forming her own company dedicated to bringing circus arts to traditional theater venues. The audience watched in hushed fascination as the 5 performers seemed to defy gravity, their bodies moving through the air with grace and precision that bordered on the supernatural. The choreography was set to a hauntingly beautiful original composition that perfectly complemented the visual spectacle unfolding above the stage. At one point during the routine, Marie-Claire performed a sequence that involved spinning rapidly while suspended by silk ribbons, creating a visual effect that left the audience breathless. Catherine gripped the arm of her chair during the most dangerous-looking moments, while William watched with obvious appreciation for the athletes' incredible conditioning and skill. The performance reached its climax when all 5 performers created a complex aerial formation that resembled a human chandelier, their bodies intertwined in a pattern that seemed both impossible and beautiful. The formation held for nearly 30 seconds before the performers gracefully separated and descended to the stage for their final bows. The standing ovation for Cirque Nouveau was immediate and prolonged. The audience had just witnessed something that pushed the boundaries of human physical capability while maintaining artistic beauty throughout. In the royal box, both Catherine and William rose immediately to their feet, their applause reflecting genuine awe at what they had just experienced. Magnificent! Absolutely magnificent! James Morrison declared as he returned to the stage. Cirque Nouveau, ladies and gentlemen, proving that humans truly can fly. As the aerial performers took their final bows and began clearing their equipment, Marcus Chun received his 5-minute call from Sarah Fletcher. The young magician felt his heart rate accelerate as the reality of his upcoming performance hit him fully. "You've got this, Marcus," Emma reminded him as they made their way toward the stage entrance. "Just remember why you started doing magic in the first place." Marcus nodded, thinking back to his childhood fascination with making coins disappear and reappear, the wonder in his friend's eyes when he performed his first card tricks. That sense of wonder was what he hoped to recreate tonight on the Royal Variety stage. The television audience was treated to a brief behind-the-scenes segment during the equipment changeover, showing the technical crew's impressive efficiency in transforming the stage from an aerial performance space back to a more intimate setting suitable for close-up magic. "In just 2 minutes, our crew has completely reconfigured the stage," the narrator explained to viewers. This level of technical precision is part of what makes the Royal Variety performance possible, allowing for such diverse acts to flow seamlessly from one to another. The cameras also captured brief interviews with audience members during the changeover, gathering reactions to the evening's performances so far. "The quality tonight has been exceptional," commented theater critic Jonathan Hayes. "Each act has brought something completely different, but all at an incredibly high standard. The royal couple seems genuinely engaged with every performance." Lady Patricia Rothschild, a longtime patron of the arts, added her perspective. "What strikes me most is the international flavor this year. We've seen performers from China, Canada, Italy, Scotland, and of course our wonderful English artists. It's a beautiful representation of how the arts bring the world together." As the stage lights dimmed and James Morrison prepared to introduce Marcus Chun, the young magician took a deep breath and stepped into position in the wings. This was his moment to join the distinguished list of performers who had graced this historic stage, and he was determined to make it memorable. The anticipation in the Royal Albert Hall was palpable as the audience prepared for what promised to be an intimate and mystifying performance, a perfect contrast to the grand spectacle they had just witnessed. Magic at its best created personal moments of wonder even in the largest venues, and Marcus was about to discover whether he could achieve that elusive goal on the most important night of his career. In the royal box, Catherine and William settled back in their seats with obvious anticipation. The evening had already exceeded their expectations, but they sensed that the best was yet to come. The careful curation of the performance lineup was evident in how each act built upon the previous one, while offering something completely unique. The stage was set, literally and figuratively, for Marcus to step into the spotlight and attempt to create the impossible right before the eyes of royalty and millions of viewers around the world. The spotlight illuminated center stage as James Morrison stepped forward with an expression of genuine excitement. The evening had been building toward this moment, the introduction of perhaps the most intimate and personal form of entertainment in the entire lineup. "Ladies and gentlemen, your royal highnesses," James announced, his voice carrying a note of anticipation. Magic has always held a special place in British entertainment. From the great Victoria illusionists to modern mentalists who baffle audiences worldwide, the art of creating wonder remains as powerful today as ever. Please welcome a young man who represents the future of magical entertainment, Marcus Chun. The applause was warm and encouraging as Marcus stepped onto the stage, his nervousness evident only to those who knew what to look for. His black suit was impeccably tailored, and his smile, though slightly nervous, was genuine and engaging. He carried himself with the poise of someone far older than his 24 years, though the careful observer might notice the slight tremor in his hands as he acknowledged the audience. "Your Royal Highnesses, distinguished guests, good evening," Marcus began, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "My name is Marcus Chun, and tonight I want to share with you something that has fascinated humans for thousands of years: the impossible." In the royal box, Catherine and William leaned forward slightly, both clearly intrigued by the young performer's confident yet humble demeanor. Magic shows could be hit or miss in venues like the Royal Albert Hall, where the distance between performer and audience could diminish the intimate nature that made close-up magic so effective. "I'd like to begin with something simple," Marcus continued, producing a deck of cards from his jacket pocket. "These are ordinary playing cards, but in the right hands, they can become something extraordinary." What followed was a masterclass in both sleight of hand and audience engagement. Marcus's card manipulation was flawless, his patter engaging and educational without being condescending. He explained the psychology behind magic, while simultaneously performing tricks that seemed to violate the laws of physics. "The beautiful thing about magic," Marcus said as cards seemed to multiply and disappear in his hands, "is that it reminds us that our perceptions can be fooled, but our sense of wonder remains intact." His first major illusion involved a borrowed item from an audience member in the front row, a gentleman's watch that Marcus somehow made appear inside a sealed box that had been visible on stage since the beginning of his performance. The execution was flawless, and the audience's gasps of amazement were audible even in the television broadcast. But Marcus's true genius became apparent as he transitioned from close-up tricks to larger illusions that could be appreciated throughout the venue. His background in both traditional magic and modern technology allowed him to create effects that bridge the gap between intimate wonder and grand spectacle. "For my next effect," Marcus announced, "I need the help of someone very special." He gestured toward the royal box, causing a ripple of excitement through the audience. "Your Royal Highness, Princess Catherine, would you be willing to assist me with something impossible?" The request was perfectly executed, respectful, optional, and clearly designed to honor rather than embarrass. Catherine exchanged a quick glance with William, who nodded encouragingly, before smiling and indicating her willingness to participate. "Wonderful," Marcus exclaimed, and the audience's excitement was palpable. "Your Royal Highness, I have here a completely sealed envelope that has been in the venue since this morning. Would you please confirm that it remains sealed?" James Morrison, acting as an intermediary, carried the envelope to the royal box. Catherine examined it carefully before confirming to the audience that it appeared completely sealed and untampered with. "Perfect," Marcus continued. "Now, Your Royal Highness, I'd like you to think of something personal, perhaps a number that has special meaning to you or a word that brings happy memories. Please don't say it aloud. Just hold that thought clearly in your mind." The theater was completely silent as Catherine concentrated, obviously taking the exercise seriously. Her thoughtful expression was visible to the entire audience, adding to the tension of the moment. "Have you selected something?" Marcus asked, and Catherine nodded. "Excellent. Now, Your Royal Highness, would you please tell us what you were thinking?" "The number 7, Catherine replied clearly, her voice carrying throughout the venue. Marcus smiled broadly. 7. A beautiful number, and one with particular significance. Your Royal Highness, would you please open that envelope?" With obvious curiosity, Catherine carefully opened the sealed envelope. Inside, she found a single card with the number 7 written in elegant calligraphy. But that wasn't all. Below the number was written, "Princess Catherine's Royal Variety Performance, 2024. The audience erupted in amazement and applause. Not only had Marcus predicted her number, but he had personalized the prediction specifically for her and this event. Catherine held up the card for the audience to see, her expression one of genuine astonishment and delight. William was visibly impressed, applauding enthusiastically while shaking his head in bewilderment at what he had just witnessed. The trick was not only technically perfect, but emotionally resonant, creating a personal connection between the performer and the royal family. "Your Royal Highness," Thank you so much for your assistance, Marcus said with a deep bow toward the royal box. Ladies and gentlemen, Her Royal Highness, the Princess of Wales. The applause for Catherine was warm and prolonged, acknowledging both her gracious participation and her obvious enjoyment of the experience. She waved to the audience with genuine pleasure before settling back in her seat, still examining the prediction card with obvious fascination. Marcus's performance continued with several more illusions, each building upon the last in terms of complexity and impact. His final effect involved the entire audience in a mentalism demonstration that seemed to read the collective thoughts of everyone present. The mathematical precision of his method was hidden beneath layers of seemingly impossible coincidences that left even the most skeptical audience members questioning their understanding of reality. As Marcus took his final bow to a standing ovation, backstage preparations were already underway for the evening's climactic performances. The technical crew worked with practiced efficiency to prepare the stage for Rebecca Matthews, the West End star who would be delivering one of musical theater's most challenging and emotionally powerful songs. Rebecca stood in the wings, warming up her voice with scales and breathing exercises. She had performed Defying Gravity hundreds of times in various productions of Wicked, but tonight carried special significance. This performance would reach millions of viewers and showcase the best of British musical theater to an international audience. "Rebecca, you're on in 3 minutes," Sarah Fletcher informed her, clipboard in hand, as she coordinated the evening's final acts. "Thank you," Rebecca replied, her voice strong and confident. At 35, she was at the peak of her vocal abilities, having spent nearly 2 decades honing her craft in London's competitive theater scene. Tonight was her opportunity to demonstrate why West End performers were considered among the world's finest musical theater artists. The stage transformation was remarkable to watch. In less than 5 minutes, the technical crew had created a setting that suggested the soaring towers of the Emerald City, complete with dramatic lighting that would complement the song's themes of liberation and self-discovery. James Morrison returned to the stage, his energy renewed by the audience's enthusiastic response to Marcus's magical performance. Ladies and gentlemen, the West End has given the world some of its greatest musical theater, and tonight we're privileged to hear from one of its finest voices. She has starred in productions from Les Miserables to The Lion King, but tonight she performs one of modern musical theater's most challenging and inspiring songs. Please welcome the magnificent Rebecca Matthews. Rebecca strode onto the stage with the confidence of someone completely in her element. Her floor-length emerald gown perfectly complemented the staging, and her presence filled the vast space of the Royal Albert Hall with ease. This was a performer who understood how to command attention through voice and personality rather than relying on tricks or gimmicks. "Your Royal Highnesses, ladies and gentlemen," Rebecca addressed the audience, her speaking voice warm and engaging. "Tonight, I'm performing Defying Gravity from the musical Wicked. It's a song about finding the courage to be true to yourself, even when others don't understand your choices." The opening notes of the familiar melody began, and Rebecca's voice soared through the venue with crystalline clarity. Her interpretation of the beloved song was both technically flawless and emotionally devastating, bringing new depth to lyrics that many audience members had heard countless times before. In the royal box, Catherine was visibly moved by the performance. The song's themes of standing up for one's beliefs and refusing to be limited by others' expectations resonated deeply with someone who had faced intense public scrutiny while forging her own path as a member of the royal family. William, too, was clearly impressed by both the vocal performance and the emotional honesty that Rebecca brought to the song. Her ability to make a familiar piece feel fresh and immediate was the mark of a truly gifted performer. As Rebecca reached the song's climactic high notes, her voice seemed to lift the entire audience with her. The power and beauty of her vocals, combined with the song's inspiring message, created one of the evening's most transcendent moments. When she hit the final soaring note. The silence that followed was profound before erupting into the loudest ovation of the night. The standing ovation lasted nearly 10 minutes, with audience members calling out "Brava" and "Encore." Rebecca's curtain calls were gracious and humble, clearly moved by the overwhelming response to her performance. Backstage, the remaining performers watched Rebecca's triumph with appreciation and excitement. The evening was building to its crescendo, and each act had raised the bar for those who followed. As Rebecca finally exited the stage to continued applause, the venue buzzed with anticipation for the evening's final acts. The Royal Variety performance had lived up to its reputation as a showcase for the very best in entertainment, and the audience sensed that the conclusion would be something truly special. In the royal box, Catherine and William were clearly energized by what they had witnessed. Their genuine engagement with each performance had been evident throughout the evening, and their presence had elevated every act. The performers, from a nervous young magician to the seasoned West End star, had all risen to the occasion of performing before royalty and millions of viewers worldwide. The evening's finale was yet to come, but already the 2024 Royal Variety performance had established itself as one of the most memorable in recent years. The perfect balance of talent, spectacle, and heart had created something magical, a celebration of entertainment that reminded everyone present why live performance continued to hold a special place in human culture, even in an increasingly digital world. The thunderous applause for Rebecca Matthews gradually subsided, but the energy in the Royal Albert Hall remained electric. As the West End star took her final bow and exited stage left, the technical crew immediately began preparations for the evening's grand finale. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for, the culmination of an extraordinary night that had showcased the very best in international entertainment. James Morrison returned to center stage, his own excitement clearly visible as he prepared to introduce the evening's closing act. Throughout the night, he had masterfully guided the audience through each performance. But now his role would shift to orchestrating something even more special, the traditional finale that would bring together all the evening's performers in a celebration of unity and shared artistry. "Ladies and gentlemen, your royal highnesses," James announced, his voice carrying newfound gravitas. "We have shared an incredible journey together tonight. From death-defying acrobatics to soul-stirring opera, from mind-bending magic to soaring musical theater, we have witnessed the full spectrum of human creativity and talent." In the royal box, Catherine and William exchanged glances of satisfaction and appreciation. The evening had exceeded even their highest expectations. As patrons of numerous arts organizations, they had attended countless performances, but tonight had reminded them why live entertainment remains such a vital part of cultural life. "But our evening is not quite complete," James continued, building anticipation. "For our finale, I'm thrilled to welcome back all of tonight's remarkable performers for a very special presentation. But first, please welcome international sensation and tonight's headline performer, the incomparable Adele." The announcement sent shockwaves through the audience. Adele's appearance had been kept secret even from many of the evening's participants, making her presence an extraordinary surprise that elevated the finale to unprecedented heights. As Britain's most successful contemporary artist took the stage, the standing ovation was immediate and overwhelming. Adele appeared genuinely moved by the reception, taking a moment to compose herself before addressing the audience. Her presence filled the vast space effortlessly, and her trademark warmth and humor were evident even before she spoke. "Blimey," she said, her London accent thick with emotion, "I don't think I'll ever get used to that kind of welcome." The audience laughed affectionately, clearly charmed by her authentic response. "Your Royal Highnesses, it's an absolute honor to be here tonight. I've been watching from backstage, and the talent on this stage tonight has been absolutely incredible." Catherine and William were beaming in the royal box, clearly delighted by the surprise addition to the evening's lineup. Adele's music had provided the soundtrack to countless moments in British life, and her presence at the Royal Variety performance felt like a perfect convergence of popular culture and royal tradition. "Tonight, I want to perform something special for you," Adele continued, moving to the piano that had been positioned center stage. "This is a song that I wrote thinking about all the moments in life when we need to feel connected to something bigger than ourselves. Your Royal Highnesses, distinguished guests, this is when we were young." The opening piano notes created an immediate intimacy despite the grand setting. Adele's voice, one of the most recognizable and beloved sounds in contemporary music, filled every corner of the historic venue with warmth and emotion. Her interpretation of the song was deeply personal, as if she were sharing a private moment with each individual listener. The performance was masterful in its restraint and power. Adele allowed the song's natural emotion to carry the performance, never oversinging or trying to impress through vocal gymnastics. Instead, she demonstrated the kind of mature artistry that had made her one of the world's most respected performers. As she sang, subtle lighting changes and carefully orchestrated camera angles captured not only Adele's performance, but also the audience's emotional response. In the royal box, Catherine was visibly moved, occasionally touching her heart during particularly poignant passages. William, too, was completely absorbed in the performance, his usual composed demeanor softened by the song's emotional honesty. When Adele concluded the song, the silence that followed was profound and respectful before transforming into applause that seemed to shake the building's foundations. The standing ovation lasted nearly 15 minutes, with audience members reluctant to let the moment end. "Thank you. Thank you so much," Adele said, clearly overwhelmed by the response. But tonight isn't about any one performer. It's about celebrating all of the incredible artists who have shared this stage with us. As if on cue, all of the evening's performers began returning to the stage. The Phoenix Rising dancers emerged from stage left, their energy still vibrant after opening the show hours earlier. The McLeod brothers bounded on stage with characteristic enthusiasm, followed by the elegant Isabella Romano and the graceful aerial artist from Cirque Nouveau. Jessie J returned with obvious joy, her earlier nervousness replaced by confidence and satisfaction. Marcus Chin appeared with his assistant Emma, still somewhat awed by finding himself on stage with such established stars. Rebecca Matthews entered with regal bearing, her emerald gown catching the stage lights beautifully. The Zhao family acrobats took their places with quiet dignity, while Alexandra Chun and representatives from the London Youth Orchestra brought youthful energy to the gathering. David and Samantha Patterson from Mystique and Mayhem added their comedic presence to the growing assembly. As all the performers gathered on stage, the sense of community and shared achievement was palpable. Despite their vastly different backgrounds, ages, and artistic disciplines, they had all contributed to creating something magical together. "Ladies and gentlemen," James Morrison announced, his voice thick with emotion, "these remarkable artists have traveled from around the world to be here tonight. They represent the very best of human creativity, dedication, and the universal language of entertainment that brings us all together." The cameras captured the genuine camaraderie among the performers. Isabella Romano was chatting warmly with Jessie J, while Marcus Chun looked starstruck as he stood near Adele. The international nature of the group was evident, yet their shared experience had created instant bonds that transcended cultural and linguistic differences. "Your Royal Highnesses," James continued, "these artists would like to express their gratitude for your patronage and support of the arts. The Royal Variety Charity, which benefits from tonight's performance, provides crucial assistance to entertainers throughout their careers, from young artists just starting out to veterans who have given us decades of joy." Catherine and William rose from their seats, acknowledging the performers with warm applause. Their genuine appreciation was evident in every gesture, and the performers responded with deep bows and curtsies that honored both royal protocol and their own artistic dignity. The traditional finale song began, a carefully arranged version of Rule Britannia, that had been adapted to showcase each performer's unique talents. Isabella Romano provided soaring operatic moments, while Jessie J and Adele added contemporary vocal harmonies. The orchestra, led by young Alexandra Chun, provided the musical foundation for what became a truly collaborative performance. Even the non-musical acts found ways to contribute. The acrobatic performers added visual spectacle with carefully choreographed movements, while Marcus performed subtle magical flourishes that complemented the music. The aerial artists created stunning formations above the other performers, while the dancers provided rhythmic movement that unified the entire presentation. The result was unlike anything typically seen at such events, a genuine fusion of artistic disciplines that created something entirely new while honoring traditional royal entertainment formats. The audience was mesmerized by the spectacle, but also moved by the obvious joy and mutual respect among the performers. As the song reached its climax, all the performers joined together for a final chorus that demonstrated the power of collective artistry. Their voices, from opera-trained to pop-influenced to comedy-seasoned, blended into something beautiful and uniquely British in its celebration of diversity within unity. The final notes faded to a moment of perfect silence before the audience erupted in the longest and most enthusiastic ovation of the evening. In the royal box, Catherine and William were on their feet immediately, their applause vigorous and sustained. Around the venue, audience members were calling out names of individual performers while applauding the collective achievement. The performers took their bows as a group before stepping forward individually to acknowledge the audience's appreciation. Each had their moment to shine one final time, from the youngest acrobat to the most established stars. The sense of mutual support among the artists was evident as they applauded each other and shared the spotlight generously. As the curtain began to fall, James Morrison stepped forward for his final words of the evening. "Ladies and gentlemen, your Royal Highnesses, thank you for joining us for the Royal Variety Performance 2024. Tonight, we have been reminded once again of the incredible power of live entertainment to inspire, to unite, and to celebrate the very best of human creativity." The audience remained on their feet as the curtain fell, many reluctant to let the magical evening end. The Royal Variety Performance had delivered on its promise to showcase exceptional talent while raising funds for a worthy cause. But it had also created something more intangible, a shared experience that would linger in memory long after the lights dimmed. Backstage, the atmosphere was euphoric as performers congratulated each other and shared contact information. Professional bonds had been formed that would likely last for years, and several collaborative projects were already being discussed in the excitement of the moment. Catherine and William made their way backstage for the traditional meet and greet with the performers. Their genuine warmth and interest made each interaction special, from lengthy conversations about technique with the acrobats to discussions about music education with Alexandra Chun. When they met with Jessie J, Catherine's enthusiasm was evident. "Your performance was absolutely wonderful," she said warmly. "That song has such a beautiful message, and you delivered it with such authenticity." "Thank you so much, Your Royal Highness," Jessie replied, still somewhat overwhelmed by the entire experience. "This has been the most incredible night of my career." The royal couple's interaction with each performer was similarly genuine and meaningful. They spent considerable time with Marcus Chun, clearly impressed by both his technical skill and his potential as a young artist. With Isabella Romano, they discussed the importance of opera education and cultural exchange. As the evening wound down and performers began departing for after-parties and flights home, the Royal Albert Hall slowly returned to its resting state. The technical crew worked efficiently to strike the elaborate sets and equipment, but the magic of what had transpired would linger in the building's memory. The Royal Variety Performance 2024 had achieved something special, a perfect balance of respect for tradition with celebration of contemporary talent. The presence of the Prince and Princess of Wales had provided the evening with its ceremonial gravity, while the diverse lineup of performers had supplied the artistry and entertainment that made the event truly memorable. For millions of viewers around the world, the broadcast would provide entertainment and inspiration for years to come. For the performers, it represented a career pinnacle and the achievement of a lifetime dream. And for Catherine and William, it had been an evening that reinforced their belief in the vital importance of supporting the arts and celebrating human creativity. As the last lights dimmed in the Royal Albert Hall, the 2024 Royal Variety performance took its place among the most successful and memorable in the event's distinguished history, proving once again that the combination of exceptional talent, royal patronage, and live entertainment could create something truly magical.